The Galactic Council had always been a symbol of unity, a group that kept peace and order across the galaxy. From distant stars to new worlds, they ensured that life in the galaxy could coexist without war, without fear. The Council consisted of hundreds of different species, each with their unique history, culture, and beliefs. But for all its authority, there was one species that stood out above the rest: humans. When Earth first joined the Council, many of the other members had underestimated the human race. They saw Earth as a small, struggling planet on the fringe of the galaxy. But humans had a natural gift, an ability to adapt. They learned quickly, grew stronger with each challenge, and found ways to innovate when it seemed impossible. Soon, humanity became one of the most influential members of the Council. They contributed technology, wisdom, and unique perspectives that were vital to the galaxy's peace. But now, everything had changed. Without warning, Earth made an announcement that shocked the entire galaxy. The human government, led by President Elena Thorne, had decided to sever all diplomatic ties with the Galactic Council. No explanations, no reasons given. Just a cold, harsh decision that sent ripples of panic through the galaxy. The news spread quickly. The council chambers, usually filled with quiet whispers of diplomacy and long discussions, were now buzzing with confusion. The Thrax Empire, a brutal and aggressive species, immediately began making plans to exploit this moment of weakness. The peaceful Kaliri Federation, on the other hand, worried that humanity's decision would shatter the fragile peace they had worked so hard to build. For decades, humanity had been a reliable member of the Council, contributing to its many peacekeeping efforts. Now it was as if a great wall had been erected between Earth and the rest of the galaxy. The Council leaders were desperate for answers, but Earth remained silent. President Thorne had made her decision, and no one knew why. On Earth, things appeared to be normal at first. The streets were filled with people going about their daily lives, the cities buzzed with activity, and the skies remained clear. But the truth was far from simple. While the world might have seemed calm on the surface, tensions were rising within the human government. There were whispers of corruption, of manipulation, and of a betrayal that had been brewing for years. President Thorne was calm in public, but privately, she was under immense pressure. She knew that severing ties with the Council would not be easy. Many Earth citizens had grown comfortable with the idea of galactic unity, and many species relied on Earth's technological contributions. But the truth was becoming impossible to ignore. The Council, despite its lofty ideals, had been taking advantage of humanity for years. The decision had not been made lightly. Thorne and her advisors had discovered that the Galactic Council had been exploiting Earth's resources, pushing humans to the brink in the name of interstellar peace. Earth had been supplying vital resources to other planets, many of which were far richer and more powerful than Earth itself. And yet, Earth had not been receiving its fair share of the benefits. Human lives had been used as pawns in the Council's game, and President Thorne had had enough. In secret, she had gathered a team of advisors, scientists, and military leaders to discuss the best course of action. The more they dug into the Council's practices, the more they uncovered. Corruption was rampant within the higher ranks of the Council. Diplomatic agreements were often ignored or manipulated for the benefit of the wealthiest and most powerful species. And while Earth had been promised protection and fair treatment, the truth was that humanity was being used as little more than a tool. The final straw came when Earth's ambassadors to the Galactic Council, who had always represented the human race with pride, reported a chilling discovery. High-ranking council members had been secretly plotting to control Earth's technological advancements. They intended to weaponize Earth's innovations, using them to maintain their control over weaker species and dominate the galaxy. President Thorne knew that the only way to protect Earth was to break away from the Council completely. She ordered the severing of all diplomatic ties, instructing the human representatives to withdraw from the Council meetings immediately. She issued a public address, explaining that Earth would no longer participate in the Council's activities. The message was clear. Earth was no longer willing to be a part of a system that had betrayed them. The announcement sent shockwaves through the galaxy. Some were furious, others confused, but all were uncertain of what this would mean for the future of galactic peace. In the council chambers, panic spread like wildfire. The representatives of the Thrax Empire demanded that Earth be brought to heel, threatening war if necessary. The Kaliri Federation, ever the peacemakers, urged caution, calling for dialogue and understanding. But the damage had already been done. The humans had made their decision, and the galaxy was left scrambling to understand what would happen next. The Vorthan diplomat, a seasoned envoy known for his calm demeanor, was chosen to travel to Earth and bring back a report on the situation. His mission was clear: understand why Earth had made such a drastic decision and determine if there was any hope for restoring the relationship. When he arrived on Earth, he found a planet that seemed to be untouched by the chaos unfolding in the galaxy. The streets were filled with people, children played in the parks, and the sky was clear. There was no sign of the unrest or panic that he had expected. It was as if Earth had simply decided to ignore the galaxy's turmoil. But as he sat down with President Thorne and her inner circle, the true weight of the situation became clear. Earth had made its decision for one simple reason: survival. The Galactic Council, once seen as a protector, had become a predator. Earth had outgrown its role as a pawn and was ready to take control of its own destiny. The envoy left Earth with a deep understanding of the human spirit, resilient, powerful, and unwilling to be exploited any longer. He returned to the Council with the report, knowing that what he had learned would change the course of galactic history forever. And so, the stage was set for a new era, one where the fate of the galaxy would no longer rest in the hands of the Galactic Council. Humanity had severed its ties, and the galaxy would have to reckon with the consequences. After Earth's shocking decision to cut ties with the Galactic Council, the galaxy was left in confusion and panic. The Council had always been a system of order, and humanity had been one of its most reliable members. But now, with Earth's sudden withdrawal, many in the galaxy began to question the foundation of their interstellar peace. Some feared what would come next, while others wondered what the humans had uncovered that had led them to make such a drastic move. The Vorthan diplomat, a calm and experienced envoy named Errol, was assigned to travel to Earth to uncover the truth. His mission was clear: understand why Earth had severed all communication with the Council and, if possible, find a way to bring them back into the fold. He was not prepared for what he would find. When Errol landed on Earth, he was immediately struck by how little seemed to have changed. The bustling cities were alive with energy, the skies were clear, and the human population appeared to go about their daily lives without a care in the world. From the outside, it seemed as though the people of Earth were completely unaffected by the galaxy's growing uncertainty. But Errol knew better than to judge the surface of things. He was quickly escorted to the capital, where President Elena Thorne awaited him. Errol had heard much about her. She was a leader with great intelligence, a sharp mind, and an unyielding sense of duty to her people. It was her decision that had caused the rift between Earth and the Galactic Council. But what motivated such a bold and shocking move? Errol was about to find out. President Thorne received Errol in a private meeting room, far from the public eye. Her face was calm, but Errol could sense the weight of the situation pressing down on her shoulders. The atmosphere in the room was tense but not unfriendly. Thorne greeted him politely and motioned for him to sit. "I know why you're here," she said, her voice steady but tinged with a hint of resolve. "But first, you should understand why we've done what we've done. You may think it's just a rash decision, but it isn't. It's the only choice we had left." Errol sat quietly, waiting for her to explain further. He had heard rumors of Earth's reasons for withdrawing from the Council, but nothing concrete. Now he was about to hear the truth directly from the leader of Earth herself. Thorne leaned forward slightly, her eyes narrowing as she spoke. "For years we have trusted the Galactic Council," she began. "We joined because we believed in the ideals of peace and cooperation. But as time passed, we started to notice things that made us question whether the Council was really serving the interests of all its members or just the powerful ones." Errol listened carefully. He had always thought of the Council as a force for good, a system that ensured peace and stability across the galaxy. But now it seemed that Earth had uncovered something that even he had not seen. Thorn continued, her voice growing more intense. We discovered that the Council has been manipulating us, exploiting our resources, and using our technology for their own gain. Earth has contributed to the Council in ways that no other species has. We've given them our advancements, our knowledge, and our resources. But what have we received in return? Promises of protection that were never kept, trade deals that left us with scraps, and worst of all, we were used as pawns in the Council's game of power. Errol was stunned. He had always believed the Council was fair, but now, listening to Thorn, he began to see the cracks in the system. Earth, it seemed, had been treated as nothing more than a tool, a source of resources and technology for the other, more powerful species. And now Earth had decided they would no longer be a part of it. Why now? Errol asked, trying to understand. Why cut ties so suddenly? Was there a specific moment when you decided enough was enough? Thorn's gaze hardened. Yes. We learned that the Council was planning to use our technological advancements for their own military purposes. They wanted to weaponize our innovations, things we've created to help improve the galaxy, not to destroy it. When we found out, we knew we had to act. We could no longer be a part of a system that used us, that treated us as expendable. Errol was silent, processing the information. It was clear now why Earth had made such a drastic decision. The Council had betrayed their trust, and in doing so, had pushed Earth to the breaking point. The humans had decided to take control of their own destiny, no longer relying on a corrupt system that sought to exploit them. Are you prepared for the consequences? Errol asked softly. The Council will not take this lightly. There are already factions forming, some who want to punish Earth for this move. Thorn nodded, her expression unwavering. We understand the risks, but we're ready. We've built a strong defense and we're not going to back down. We won't be threatened into submission any longer. We've made our decision, and we will stand by it. Errol studied her for a moment, his mind racing with the implications of her words. Humanity, for the first time in centuries, was no longer a pawn in the game of galactic politics. They had severed their ties with the Council not out of anger, but out of a need to protect themselves and their future. But as Errol left the meeting, a growing sense of unease began to settle in his mind. The Galactic Council had always been a fragile alliance held together by a delicate balance of power. Earth's withdrawal was like a crack in that foundation. What would happen next? Would other species follow Earth's example? And if so, what would become of the galaxy? One thing was certain. The future of the galaxy would no longer be shaped by the Council alone. Humanity had made its stand, and now the rest of the galaxy would have to decide what role Earth would play in the new order. The news of Earth's decision to sever all ties with the Galactic Council was met with shock and uncertainty across the galaxy. Even the most seasoned diplomats and military leaders were unsure of what to make of this new reality. The Vorthon diplomat Errol had returned to the Council with his report, detailing President Elena Thorn's reasons for Earth's withdrawal. The Council members were not pleased. The Galactic Council, once a powerful symbol of unity among hundreds of species, was now on the verge of collapse. Factions within the Council began to form, each with their own agenda for how to handle the human rebellion. Some called for peaceful negotiation, hoping to restore Earth's membership in the fold. Others, particularly the aggressive Thrax Empire, saw the situation as an opportunity for expansion, calling for Earth's punishment. The Council chambers were filled with arguments and accusations as the members tried to figure out how to respond. The Thrax representatives, led by the ruthless warlord Zarak, demanded that Earth be punished for its insolence. Earth must be made to submit, Zarak bellowed, slamming his fist onto the table. They dare to defy the will of the Council. They will regret it. But not all voices in the room agreed. The Coleri Federation, a peaceful race known for their diplomacy, urged caution. We cannot let our emotions rule our decisions, said the Coleri delegate Errol. Humanity is not the enemy. They have their reasons for what they've done. We must seek understanding, not conflict. The debate raged on, but it was clear that Earth's withdrawal had shaken the Council to its core. The once stable alliance was now fractured, and its members were scrambling to decide what to do next. Back on Earth, President Thorne had been following the developments closely. She had expected the Council's reaction, but nothing could have prepared her for the fierce anger coming from the Thrax Empire. Thorne knew that the Thrax were dangerous, their military might unmatched by any other species. If they decided to launch an attack on Earth, the consequences would be catastrophic. But Earth was no longer the weak, defenseless planet it had once been. Over the years, humanity had developed advanced technologies, both in defense and innovation. Earth's military was small but highly efficient, and President Thorne had made sure that the planet's defense systems were ready for any threat. If war came, Earth would fight back, and they would not go down without a struggle. In the capital city, Thorne met with her most trusted advisors to discuss the situation. The room was filled with the hum of urgent conversation as each advisor spoke their mind. General Marcus Kane, a seasoned military leader, stood at the head of the table, his expression grim. President Thorne, General Kane began, if the Thrax Empire decides to take action, we will need to be ready. We've already begun strengthening our defenses, but we need more time to prepare. A direct attack could overwhelm us before we have a chance to retaliate. Thorne nodded, her mind racing. She knew the stakes were high, but she also knew that Earth could not afford to back down now. We won't wait for them to strike first, she said firmly. We'll make it clear that Earth will not be bullied into submission. We'll stand our ground. But while Thorne was focused on preparing for the possibility of war, she knew that the galaxy was watching. Earth's decision had already started, a ripple effect throughout the galaxy. Smaller species who had long lived under the shadow of the Council began to take notice. The Free Alliance, a loose group of oppressed races who had been ignored by the Council for centuries, saw an opportunity to rise up and claim their independence. They reached out to Earth, hoping to form an alliance. Aurol, the Vorthan diplomat, had returned to Earth with his findings, but his mind was not at ease. He had seen the cracks in the Council's facade, but now, in the wake of Earth's withdrawal, he began to see something much larger, a growing movement for independence among the galaxy's oppressed species. It was a movement that could change the entire balance of power in the galaxy. The Free Alliance had already made contact with several key figures on Earth, including President Thorne. They had a simple request: to join forces in breaking away from the Council's control and forming a new order based on equality and mutual respect. Earth, with its technological advancements and military strength, could help lead the charge for a new, more just galaxy. Thorne was intrigued by the proposal. She had never been one to shy away from difficult decisions, and the idea of leading a movement for freedom and equality appealed to her, but she also knew that such a decision came with risks. Would the other species in the galaxy be willing to join this new alliance, or would they see it as a threat to the status quo? Thorne sat with Errol once more, seeking his advice. The Vorthan diplomat had become a trusted ally in this uncertain time, and his perspective was valuable. "Do you think the galaxy is ready for a new order?" she asked him. "Can we truly unite against the Council, or will we only bring more chaos?" Errol sighed, his expression thoughtful. "The galaxy is fractured, President Thorne. Many species are disillusioned with the Council's corruption. They've been waiting for someone to stand up and show them that there's another way. But the question is whether they are ready to act. The Council has kept them in line for so long that they may hesitate to break away. Fear is a powerful thing." Thorne leaned back in her chair, considering his words. "Then we will have to give them something to believe in," she said firmly. "If we can unite these species, if we can show them that a new galaxy is possible, one that values freedom and fairness, then perhaps we can bring about the change we need." Meanwhile, the Thrax Empire was not idle. Warlord Zarak, having failed to sway the Council into immediate action, began preparing his forces. He believed that Earth's defiance would be the spark that would allow him to dominate the galaxy. He sent out covert operatives to sabotage Earth's defense systems, while also secretly assembling a fleet. The stage was set for a conflict unlike any the galaxy had seen before. The Council, fractured and weakened by Earth's rebellion, was unsure how to respond. On one side, President Thorn and Earth's allies prepared to defend their right to self-determination. On the other, the Thrax Empire moved closer to war, believing that Earth's defiance must be crushed. But what neither side knew was that this conflict, which began with Earth's decision to sever ties, would spark something much larger, a entire movement for freedom, for independence, and for a future where the galaxy could stand together without the corruption of the old order. Across the galaxy, the silence that followed Earth's bold move was slowly replaced by whispers, then voices, then action. The Galactic Council, once proud and united, was now broken into pieces. The larger members still clung to their power, but the smaller ones had begun to open their eyes. For years, many species had suffered quietly, believing they were alone. But when Earth stepped away and exposed the truth, it gave the silent ones courage. In hidden corners of space, small meetings began. Leaders of oppressed planets met in secret. Old enemies talked for the first time in centuries. They spoke not of war, but of freedom. Earth's example had given them hope. Back on Earth, President Thorn was aware of the change. Every day, new messages arrived from different parts of the galaxy. Some were careful, asking questions, others were bold, begging for leadership. Most wanted to break away from the Council, but they didn't know how. Thorn met with her advisors again. This time the conversation was not about defense or war, but about responsibility. "We started something," General Marcus Kane said. "Whether we meant to or not, the galaxy is following our lead." Thorn looked around the room. "Then we have a duty. If they trust us, we can't turn away. But we must be smart. If we rush, we'll fall apart. We need to build something stronger than the Council ever was." They agreed to form a new group. Not an empire, not a government, but an alliance based on fairness. This group would be open to any species that wanted peace and freedom. It would be called the United Worlds Initiative, but they had to move carefully. The Thrax Empire was watching. Warlord Zarek, angry and power-hungry, had already started building his fleets. He wanted war, not peace. To him, Earth's influence was poison. If more species left the Council, his power would be threatened. Zarek's spies had reported the growth of the Free Alliance, the group that had reached out to Earth. He feared they would become the seeds of rebellion across the stars. So he made a plan: crush Earth before the Free Alliance could rise. Meanwhile, the Vorthon diplomat, Errol, continued to work with Earth. He had now become a bridge between humans and the galaxy. At first, he had been sent to watch and report. But now, he believed in Earth's vision. He helped organize meetings between Earth and other species. Delegates from small distant worlds arrived on secret ships. One came from the ice world of Nysar, another from the forest moon of Lareth, and a third from the mining colonies of Uxar Prime. All had stories of how the Council had ignored them, or used them. In a secure chamber in Earth's capital, these delegates met with Thorn. "You've shown us what is possible," said Zarn, the leader from Nysar. "But we need protection. The Thrax are moving their ships toward our systems. We won't survive alone," added Lena, the Lareth ambassador. "But together maybe we have a chance." Thorn nodded. "Then we build this alliance, not just with words, but with action. Earth will share its defenses. We'll train your people. We'll help each other." Over the next few weeks, humans began to send aid to struggling colonies. Engineers, doctors, teachers, and defense experts arrived on new worlds, not to control, but to support. Earth did not demand loyalty. It asked for cooperation. The people responded with open arms. But all this did not go unnoticed. In the dark regions of space, Warlord Zarek prepared his next move. He sent a warning to the Council: "Crush Earth or I will." This message divided the Council further. Some feared Earth's power, but others feared Zarak more. They knew war with Earth could break what little was left of the Council. But if they allowed Zarak to act alone, they would lose control of the galaxy. In secret, a few Council members contacted Earth. These were quiet messages, not official. They came from individuals who no longer believed in the Council's ways, but were afraid to speak out. Errol brought these messages to Thorn. "They're watching," he told her. "Some still believe the Council can be saved, but more are starting to believe in you." Thorn listened carefully. "We can't be the reason for a galaxy-wide war. We'll defend ourselves, but we won't start this. If Zarak attacks, we'll be ready. Until then, we build." Under her command, Earth opened new training stations in space, ships from Free. Alliance worlds docked side by side with human vessels. They learned from each other, trained together, and shared technology. For the first time in centuries, species that had never trusted each other were working as one. The idea of unity, once only words spoken in the Council's grand halls, now had meaning. But as hope grew, so did the danger. One night, Earth's deep space radar picked up a large signal. General Kane rushed to the war room. "It's a fleet," he said. "Thrax ships, hundreds of them. They're heading toward us." Thorn stood silently. She had known this day would come. "Send a message to our allies," she said. "Tell them the time has come. We stand together now, not just for Earth, but for all of us." Across the stars, her message was received. In the ice cities of Nisar, defense towers lit up. On Lareth, warriors took to the skies on flying beasts. On Uxar Prime, mining ships were turned into battlecruisers. They would not stand alone. The battle was coming, and this time the galaxy would not watch in silence. The silence of space was shattered by the hum of engines. The Thrax fleet, massive and terrifying, loomed at the edge of Earth's space. Hundreds of warships, each bristling with weapons, had gathered in a formation that made the stars seem small. Warlord Zarak had come to claim what he believed was rightfully his: Earth and the new order that was rising in the galaxy. President Elena Thorne stood in the war room, watching the display of approaching ships on the holoscreen. General Marcus Kane stood beside her, his face grim. The time for talking was over. Earth had been preparing for this moment ever since the first signs of Thrax aggression appeared. Now, all the training, all the planning, would be put to the test. "We've never faced an army like this before," General Kane said, his voice low but steady. "Zarak won't stop. He wants to crush us, to send a message to the galaxy." Thorne nodded, her gaze never leaving the screen. "We can't back down. Not now. We stand for something bigger than just Earth. We stand for the freedom of all species." Her words carried weight. The Free Alliance, made up of species that had long been oppressed by the Galactic Council, had put their trust in Earth. They had fought beside humans, and now it was time to return that trust. Earth wasn't just defending itself, it was defending the future of the galaxy. The news had already spread across the stars. The smaller, once silent species had begun to rally. Ships from Nisar, Lareth, and Uxar Prime had joined Earth's fleet, creating an alliance stronger than anyone had expected. It wasn't just about technology or firepower. It was about unity, the shared belief that no one should be ruled by the Council or the Thrax. Together, they would make their stand. On Earth's flagship, the Eagle's Crest, the crew was preparing for battle. The ship was one of the most advanced in Earth's fleet, equipped with the latest in defense technology and weapons systems. Yet it wasn't just the technology that made the Eagle's Crest special. It was the people aboard her. The crew was made up of humans, Nisarians, and Larithians working together as one. Captain Lisa Rowe, a seasoned leader who had spent years in space combat, stood at the helm. She glanced over her shoulder to check in with her crew. "We're ready," she said firmly. "The fleet is in position. We've received the signal from the Free Alliance. We stand united." Thorne's voice came over the comm system. "Captain Rowe, take the lead. Let's show the galaxy what unity looks like." Lisa nodded and turned back to the forward view. The enemy fleet loomed larger now. The Thrax warships were massive, their dark shapes casting long shadows across the stars. But Earth's fleet had an advantage: speed, maneuverability, and the experience of working together with allies from across the galaxy. While the Thrax relied on brute force, Earth's fleet would rely on strategy and precision. As the Eagles, Crest, and the rest of Earth's fleet moved into position, a message flashed across their communication channels. It was from Warlord Zarek himself, sent to all ships in the Earth fleet. "You are fools." The message blared in a cold, mocking tone. "You cannot win. I will crush you, and then the galaxy will bow to me. Earth's rebellion ends here." The message cut off as quickly as it had arrived, but the anger in his words was unmistakable. Zarek had no intention of negotiating. He would destroy Earth and anyone who stood in his way. The tension in the war room on Earth was palpable. Thorn didn't flinch when the message ended. She had known this was coming. It had always been a matter of when, not if. "We're not backing down," she said. "Today we fight for the future." On the battlefield, the first shots were fired. Earth's fleet moved in formation, while the Thrax surged forward like an unstoppable wave. The space around them erupted in light as lasers, missiles, and plasma bursts lit up the dark void. The Eagle's crest darted through the chaos, dodging enemy fire with expert precision. Captain Rowe barked orders, her voice calm but firm. "Focus on their command ship. If we take down Zarek's flagship, the rest will fall apart." Earth's ships moved like a well-oiled machine. The Eagle's crest led the charge, her crew working in perfect harmony. The ships from the Free Alliance fought bravely alongside them. Nysar ships, built to survive in extreme conditions, absorbed hits that would have destroyed other vessels. The Larithians used their agile craft to launch hit-and-run attacks, distracting the Thrax long enough for the Earth ships to strike. The battle raged on for hours, neither side giving an inch. The Thrax Empire's fleet was relentless, pushing forward with brutal force. But Earth and its allies fought with determination, each ship defending not just its own world, but the hope of a galaxy that could be free from the Council's corruption. The hours passed. The balance of power began to shift. The Thrax fleet, though larger, began to show signs of weakness. Their ships were strong, but they were not as nimble as Earth's fleet. Their commanders, overconfident in their size and strength, underestimated the precision and strategy of their opponents. Then a breakthrough came. The Eagle's crest launched a daring assault on Zarek's flagship. With a precise strike, they disabled the Thrax warship's main weapon systems. The enemy flagship, now vulnerable, became a prime target. Earth's fleet moved in for the kill. Captain Rowe's voice rang out over the comms. "All ships, target the flagship. This is our moment." With a final coordinated strike, the Eagle's crest fired a salvo of missiles directly at Zarek's flagship. The explosion lit up the stars as the Thrax ship was torn apart. Warlord Zarek's flag was no longer flying. His fleet had lost its leader. The remaining Thrax ships hesitated. Without their command ship, they were disorganized, their attacks faltering. The Free Alliance ships pressed forward, taking advantage of the chaos. The tide of the battle had turned. On Earth, President Thorn watched the battle unfold from her command center. She knew the war wasn't over, but this victory was crucial. "The first step is done," she said quietly to herself. "Now we finish this." As the last of the Thrax ships retreated, a sense of relief washed over the crew of the Eagle's crest and the rest of the Allied forces. They had won the day, not just for Earth, but for all species who dreamed of freedom. But the battle was far from over. The war for the galaxy's future had only just begun. The dust of battle had settled, but the galaxy was still on edge. Earth and its allies had struck a blow against the Thrax Empire, but the war was far from over. The victory at the Battle of Zarek's flagship had sent shockwaves through the galaxy. The Thrax Empire, once thought to be unbeatable, had been wounded, but there were still many powerful factions in the galaxy, and Earth's fight for freedom had only just begun. In the aftermath of the battle, President Elena Thorne addressed the people of Earth and the Free Alliance. She stood before a crowd of diplomats, military leaders, and allies, her voice strong but filled with resolve. "We have won this battle," Thorne began, "but the war is far from over. The Thrax may have lost their leader, but they will not stop. The galaxy is still full of those who believe in oppression and control. We stand at the edge of something new, something we've dreamed of for centuries. But we must be ready for what comes next. Her words were met with cheers, but there was also a deep sense of responsibility in the air. Earth's victory was not just a military one. It was a symbol of hope for all the species that had suffered under the Galactic Council and the rule of the Thrax. But the galaxy was a vast and complicated place, and new challenges would arise. Few days after the battle, the leaders of the Free Alliance gathered in Earth's capital to discuss the next steps. Zarn from Nysar, Lena from Lareth, and other representatives from the smaller worlds met with Thorn in a secure chamber. They all knew that the next phase of the war would be different. They needed to strengthen their unity and prepare for whatever came next. Zarn, the leader from Nysar, spoke first. "We've done the impossible. We've shown the galaxy that even the largest empire can be brought down. But we need to be smart. The Thrax will regroup, and they will come for us again. We must not let our guard down." Lena, the Larithian warrior, nodded in agreement. "We have to keep our alliance strong. It's more than just military strength now. We need to show the galaxy that we can lead together, that we can build something better than the Galactic Council ever was." Thorn listened carefully to their words. The fight wasn't over. It would take more than just battles and wars to create the kind of galaxy they dreamed of. They needed to build trust, create systems of peace, and offer hope to the worlds that had been left in the shadows for so long. "Then we will continue to build," Thorn said firmly. "Our victory isn't just about the Thrax. It's about showing the galaxy that we can unite, that we can protect the freedom of all species. We will create a new order, one that is fair and just for everyone." The leaders of the Free Alliance agreed, and together, they began planning for the future. Earth would continue to provide military support, but they would also invest in rebuilding the galaxy. Human engineers would help repair the damage caused by the war. Earth scientists would share their knowledge, building new technologies for peace, not destruction. And most importantly, they would work to unite the smaller species, offering them a place of strength and cooperation. In the days that followed, Earth's fleet continued to patrol the galaxy, ensuring that no one would challenge the new order that was beginning to form. The Thrax Empire, although severely weakened, was still a threat, but their loss of leadership had left them vulnerable. And the rest of the galaxy watched as Earth and its allies became the new voice of peace. Meanwhile, Warlord Zarak, once the leader of the Thrax Empire, was nowhere to be found. His fleet had been defeated, and the remaining Thrax ships had scattered into the far reaches of space. No one knew what had happened to him. Some believed he had fled, while others whispered that he had been taken by the very forces he had once commanded. Either way, the galaxy was no longer under his shadow. The first few months after the Battle of Zarek's flagship were filled with uncertainty. The Thrax, though broken, were still a force to be reckoned with, but Earth's victory had given the galaxy hope. For the first time, the smaller species felt that they could stand up for themselves. The old ways were crumbling, and a new, brighter future was on the horizon. As President Thorn watched the new alliance take shape, she knew that the road ahead would not be easy. There would be those who resisted, those who clung to the old ways of power and control. But she also knew that Earth and its allies had shown the galaxy that things could be different. They had proven that unity could be more powerful than fear. On a quiet day, several months after the victory, President Thorn stood on the balcony of her office, looking out over the city. The sky was a deep blue and the air was crisp. The world had changed, and the stars above seemed to shine brighter than ever before. She knew the work was far from over, but she felt a sense of peace she hadn't felt before. For the first time in her life, she truly believed in the possibility of a peaceful galaxy. Suddenly, her comm unit beeped. It was a message from General Kane. "President Thorn," Kane's voice came through the speakers. "There's a situation. A Thrax fleet has appeared in the Outer Rim." Thorn's heart raced. The Thrax might be down, but they were far from gone. Earth's victory had made waves, but it had also stirred the storm. The battle was never truly over. It would always be a fight for the future. She stood up, straightened her uniform, and walked toward the door. She had led her people through war, and she would continue to lead them into the future. There was still work to do. There was still hope to build. And the galaxy, as fractured as it was finally on the brink of something new.